So going back to kind of what we talked about before with how like moving forward, it really seems like the more like incredible plays, like the more incredible they are, it's going to correlate with the rarity now. Like the legendary plays are truly going to be legendary moments. Do you think that that will make the Top Shot debut badge a little less significant going forward? And now I know we've like Top Shot debuts won't be coming out nearly as heavily as they did in Series 1 and Series 2. Like now that the best moments are going to be the best moments and the rarest moments, do Top Shot debuts like matter less going forward in your opinion?
Um, I don't know, like necessarily, that one would equal the other.
Mhm.
But yeah, the big sort of component of it is we burned through a lot of Top Shot debuts, like
Yeah.
in Series 1 and Series 2. They're just, and so they hold this sort of really kind of important role in not just the player's story, but in like the Top Shot story and like how the
Mhm.
player's story intersects with the Top Shot story. But I think like if we're looking, 10 years down the road and you're looking back, like I think the badges will always be special because the will always be special.
Mhm.
Um, but like and that's where I think you kind of can really unlock these new levels of excitement where like I want the moments like the grail moments to be grail moments because the moment. If we keep producing content for the next like decade at a similar cadence to what we're doing, like you're going to look back at players and they're going to have multiple run attacks, and
Mhm.
like are you going to obsess over collecting the debut? Like maybe, like because it's definitely special, but maybe the moment to own from that player is like that iconic moment from their career, like the
Yeah.
moment from their career. And maybe it doesn't, maybe that moment isn't the one that gets the badge. I feel like, yeah, there will always be that sort of extra clout from it being,
Mhm.
somebody's badge. But at the end of the day, yeah, like I like to think that being a basketball fan is something that's like, that lived through a specific era, or you just is a crazy like basketball fan in the current era, to be able to identify and kind of seek out and collect the moments that are of the most significance, like to you.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, like I feel like that will be just as much, if not more, of a draw to a moment than the Top Shot debut badge.
Yeah.
Because like there's a lot of players that had a lot that will be in like they'll be in run it backs because they'll be a major part of the season. Basically, every season we go to for a
Mhm.
span of like 15 years, it's hard not to like.
Yeah.
So then your job as a basketball fan will be like, okay, whatever. It's the year 2050. There's like 15 different Tim Duncan run it backs. Like, well, the debut will be special,
Mhm.
but then like maybe pick like the LeBron or the sorry Tim Duncan moment that
Well, the
means the
most
most.
valuable Tim Duncan moment's the one where he shows the least amount of emotion on his face, right?
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
what I would assume. So,
Yeah, if you get him cracking a smile, then it's like
yeah.
super legendary.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I think one great example of that is the, Shaq Top Shot debut, which, I mean, people gave you a lot of flack for not picking a dunk. I thought it was really cool that you picked such a unique moment for his Top Shot debut. Because how many Shaq dunks will eventually be on the platform? Like a lot, whether he's
Yeah,
no matter what jersey he's wearing. But it's cool to see. Like, I mean, that speed. I didn't know he had that speed when he was on the Heat. Like, I thought that
yeah,
was just magic Shaq. Because I mean,
yeah,
you see it a couple times on the Lakers on some of his highlight reels, and I remember it growing up, but even then, like when he was on the Lakers, he was just known as just this unstoppable force.
yeah,
And but I mean, it is a good example of where like Shaq's Top Shot debut, I don't think is going to be his most valuable moment, like even necessarily short term. As soon as you get a Lakers Shaq, as soon as you get a Magic Shaq, I think people gravitate towards that more, even if the mint counts a little higher. I give me a Lakers Shack all day over a Heat Shack. And I mean, as a Lakers fan, like, do I really want a Heat Shack? Like after he like that whole issue with Kobe and him leaving and all that stuff, like the Heat Shack is like almost like it's like a thorn in the side still, where it's a little, it hurts a little still.
I think with like with the Shaq example, I think he described it perfectly. At the end of the day, when we look back at all the different like Shaq moments like that could be on the platform, like you're gonna get those, crazy power dunks. You're gonna get, I would hope, like this isn't breaking news, but I would love to get like a moment of Shaq like ripping the stanchion down or breaking a backboard or whatever we could get.
Yeah.
Because that was obviously such a big, part of who Shaq is, who Shaq was. We committed to the year 2005-06 for some very, very solid reasons that we're very excited to do. And a reality of that is Shaq was on the Heat at that year.
Yeah.
And we've got alignment like internally and with the NBA that when we visit a year, like we're going to tell the story of that year. Like we're not going to really like put our thumb on the scale too much, like to move players around. So being able to take Miami Heat Shaq, who was like in a vacuum an incredible player and an incredible like part of an incredible team.
Yeah.
Like we were excited to be able to, kind of give him his flowers at that point in his career. And the dunking is a big part of Shaq, but like almost as memorable about Shaq, at least I think like for people who really kind of grew up with Shaq and watched Shaq was that mobility, that athleticism, obviously on display in Orlando, less so in LA and less so in Miami. But he still had it. And the funnest part about Shaq is he would still try it. Like that love for the game, that like sense of humor. Like Shaq was always like trying to play point at the All-Star games. Like it's just part of his, his like fun-loving spirit. So the play that we ended up going with for the running back Shaq, I love because it shows. I mean, this monster blocking a shot, then showing off the mobility, and then kind of goofing around on his way back down the court. I feel like, like that. Like that's the sort of snapshot that I'm happy for us to be able to elevate to a
Yeah.
rare.
Well, and then there's a dunk in the archive set. If you really need a
Yeah.
Shaq dunk, like it's there.
Yeah.
And like you said, there will be many more Shaq dunks to come. I do think it's interesting that people like complained about that, because I was like, no, like this, if you're someone who values that Top Shot debut badge, like that's your gold standard. Austin just did you a favor because he made this moment very special. Like if it was just a dunk, that for sure a Lakers dunk, a Magic dunk is going to be worth way more than this in the future. But because it is such a unique thing that you're not going to see on the, maybe you see it one or two more times over 20 years of run it backs. Like there's not tons of moments where Shaq went coast to coast.
Right.
And even then, the most like one of his most famous Lakers coast to coast is an assist to Kobe. It's not him finishing.